Hello, everyone. I see it's the top of the hour, so we're going to go ahead and get started with our CalABLE Spotlight today. This month, the ABLE National Resource Center is showcasing as part of our ongoing Spotlight series, California's Qualified ABLE Program, CalABLE. California is one of the nation's most populous and diverse states. It's also home of one of the country's newest and fastest growing ABLE programs, with their program launching in December of 2018. CalABLE offers high quality, low-cost ABLE savings and investment plans, which are available to eligible individuals nationwide, and our presenters today are going to be telling you more about all of that, keeping in mind, of course, that there are many factors to considering when choosing which ABLE program is right for you. Thank you for joining us for what we know will be an informative session today. I'll be the facilitator today. My name is Miranda Kennedy, and I'm the director of the ABLE National Resource Center. And the ABLE National Resource Center, for those of you who this may be your first opportunity to join us here, to let you know, we also go by the acronym ABLE NRC, and our website is ablenrc.org. We are the leading comprehensive source of objective, independent information about federal and state-related ABLE programs and activities, including guidance on tax-advantaged ABLE savings accounts. Our mission is to educate, promote, and support the positive impact ABLE can make on the lives of millions of Americans with disabilities and their families. Part of why we're providing this Spotlight series on ABLE programs. And our pioneering work in this area and our subject matter expertise really is what makes us the foremost authority on topics related to the Achieving a Better Life Experience, or ABLE Act, ABLE accounts, state ABLE programs, ABLE-related policy developments, as well as comprehensive integration of ABLE and financial capability strategies for people with disabilities into public service delivery systems. I'm going to hand things over now to my colleague, Hope Price, who's going to walk us through a few logistics around listening to the webinar and where you can find this webinar on our website and such when we're done. So Hope, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Miranda. The audio for today's meeting can be accessed using computer audio or by calling in by phone. If you select computer audio, please make sure your speakers are turned on or your headphones are plugged in. If you do not have sound capabilities on your computer or prefer to listen by phone, please dial 1-929-205-6099. Our meeting code is 506-920-343. For captioning, real-time captioning is provided during this webinar. The captions can be found by clicking on the closed captions icon in your Zoom controls at the bottom of the screen. If you do not see the captions after clicking the button, please alert the host via the chat box. You may also view captions in your browser at streamtext.net/player?event=NDI. For submitting questions, please use the Q&A box to submit any questions you have during the webinar. Please do not use the chat box. We will try to answer all questions. Please explore the ABLE National Resource Center website for answers to all of your questions and for additional information within our archived webinars, resources, and newsletters at ablenrc.org. If you experience any technical difficulties during the webinar, please use the chat box to send a message to the NDI host or email hprice@ndi-inc.org. Please note, this webinar is being recorded and the materials will be placed on the ABLE National Resource Center website along with all of our other ABLE webinars at ablenrc.org/resources/webinars. Thank you, Miranda.
Thank you, Hope. I'll also point out, in addition to getting assistance from Hope and Maggie, who are helping us with the webinar, we also have our colleagues, Marlene and Lori, who will be responding to any questions in the Q&A that are general to ABLE as we are going along, as well as we'll be collecting those questions to ask our presenters at the end. So You all know me. My name again, it's Miranda Kennedy. I'm Director of ABLE National Resource Center. I am joined today by our presenters, Dante Allen, who is the Executive Director of CalABLE and will be walking us through some great information, as well as Glenn Friedman, who's Manager of Asset Allocation with TIAA CRES, talking about the asset, the management piece around that. And we'll also have Katie Metz, who's Manager of Financial Employment Empowerment, I think that's supposed to be, and Inclusion with National Disability Institute, who will be talking about the AchieveABLE Corner. So with that, let's go ahead and talk about our agenda. We have a lot we're covering, so this is on 2 slides. First, we're going to be introducing our ABLE NRC Spotlight series on ABLE programs, just briefly explaining what that is and where you can find more information around other spotlights we've done. Then we'll be diving into helping people understand and become familiar with ABLE and the similarities and differences among ABLE programs, CalABLE program basics, and as well as saving and investing with CalABLE. Our next agenda items are going to be getting into more specific CalABLE details, including information on state-level ABLE legislation that people will be interested in hearing about, as well as that unique tool, the AchieveABLE Corner, that was a collaboration between National Disability Institute and CalABLE that Katie will be presenting. And then we'll be taking some time for questions. So feel free to submit those questions as we go along. We might be answering them throughout the course of the presentation. If we don't get to any of your question during the course of the presentation, we always do a top questions document that we post along with the archive at the end. So please do submit any questions you might have. If it's not answered during the course of the presentation, we'll post those questions, get the answers from our presenters as we move forward. So let's go to the next slide and talk about the ABLE Program Spotlight webinar series. These spotlights, these ABLE Program Spotlight archive webinars that we have and the webinar we're holding today, they're intended for those who already have a basic understanding of ABLE. State-ABLE programs that are part of multi-state collaborations, as well as individual state programs that are open nationally, provide program-specific details on these webinars, as well as general guidance and best practices. Each spotlight covers the range of investment options that are offered, which is often a confusing aspect for individuals who want to make the most of their ABLE account, but are new to the concepts of investing and saving. So I know Glenn Friedman will have some great information, some basics, some guidance to provide to us during that section of today's presentation. You can also see here the link to the archives where you can find other individual state programs that are open nationally and part of any ABLE programs that are part of multi-state collaborations. We've got those if you want to check out others. Maybe this is the first one you're hopping on with CalABLE and you want to see what some of those others are. Check out that archive link, ablenrc.org/resources/program-highlights/. And you'll see those archives there and a wealth of information. So let's go to the next slide and take a look, because we did talk about wanting, of course, hoping that you're coming here with some basic understanding about ABLE. If you're not, that's fine. We have great resources and tools for you available at the ABLE National Resource Center. We're showcasing 2 of those here that are located on our website. You can find them on the top toolbar. They're also listed here. Our roadmap to enrollment, which can be found at ablenrc.org/get-started/. And that roadmap to enrollment is going to cover things like, what is ABLE? Who's eligible? How can funds be used? How do I manage my account? And how do I enroll? So we've got short videos, some good guidance on there. Once folks have opened their ABLE program, their ABLE account, we have our roadmap to independence, which is ablenrc.org/manage-account/. And that roadmap to independence is going to include things such as setting my financial goals, how to build that circle of support, how to make smart financial decisions, monitor your ABLE account, and celebrate your financial independence. And these resources are also available in Spanish, so you know. Finally, I want to show you, this is a map that shows the ABLE programs that are active across the country. We have comprehensive comparison tools on our website that you can click on and learn more about and compare ABLE programs to begin to differentiate and start heading down that path of choosing which ABLE program might be right for you. We also have a mailing list where you can get information on our AchieveABLE newsletters and news items that come out. So we encourage you to sign up for that. And with that, I'd like to hand it over to Dante Allen as we start on our focus on CalABLE. And Dante will be introducing himself as well as Glenn Friedman and Katie Metz and getting us started. So we're learning more about the CalABLE program. We're glad you're here, Dante, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Miranda. And I wanted to say good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are viewing today's webinar from. Also wanted to extend my thanks to the ABLE National Resource Center and the National Disability Institute, and we are very pleased to be a part of today's ABLE Spotlight. We feel like the ABLE National Resource Center is an incredible tool for people who are considering ABLE programs and want to be able to make the nuts and bolts comparisons between the various programs. This information is essential. You're doing great work, so please keep that up. Just to give you a little bit of update on who I am, next slide, please. My name is, again, Dante Allen. I am the Executive Director for CalABLE. CalABLE is actually a board of the state of California government. We're operated through the state treasurer's office, and so I am a treasurer's appointee. I've been in this role for the last 2 years and actually brought the program to the launch that Miranda mentioned in December of 2018. Prior to joining the state treasurer's office, I've been involved in healthcare communications as well as diversity and equity across a number of organizations, large and small. I'll also be joined today, next slide please, by Glenn Friedman. Glenn is the manager of asset allocations with TIAA-CREF, and TIAA serves as the program administrator for CalABLE. Glenn has spent quite a bit of time as a manager of assets. He's created investment designs for state clients like California, and has managed billions of dollars in active equity products and implemented daily trading decisions across a broad number of organizations. Next slide. Katie Metz is the manager of financial empowerment and inclusion at the National Disability Institute. For the last year or so, Katie and I have been working very closely on the AchieveABLE Corner, which is our unique partnership that she'll be here to talk a little bit about later. But Katie's work definitely centers around diversity and inclusion. She's focused on people with disabilities, military veterans and their families, and has done a great job in those roles. I want to make sure that today we have enough time to get to any questions. So I'll go over just the very basics of ABLE really quickly, but wanted to make you aware the understanding for today's presentation, and this is a rare treat for me, where I'm not going to spend a lot of time focusing on the basics, but really get into what makes the California program differently. And so the first thing I'll start with is why ABLE. The ABLE Act is meant to be an empowerment tool for people with disabilities that helps them save to cover the additional costs of living lives with a disability. Now, ABLE has the potential to support financial well-being of people with disabilities to provide not only for themselves, but for the families and that are with them. And it also includes the proponent of allowing people with disabilities to save money, but still maintain their public disability benefits even above and beyond the established resource limits of those programs. Next slide. And again, I'm going to go over this really quickly, but who's eligible to open an ABLE account? First and foremost, the individual must have a disability, and those disabilities that are included within the Social Security Administration's list of compassionate allowances, or the Blue Book. But moreover, the onset of that disability needed to occur before age 26. Now, if individuals meet the eligibility criteria for disability programs like SSI or SSDI, and their disability began before age 26, then they're automatically eligible to open an ABLE account. But that's not to say that an individual has to be receiving benefits in order to be eligible to open an ABLE account. If you have never been qualified for those disability benefits, you can do what we call a self-certification process. And that means that you are willing to attest under penalty of perjury that the beneficiary in question has a physical or mental disability resulting in a marked or severe functional limitation that is expected to last a year or longer. In addition, most programs, and CalABLE being one of them, ask for the beneficiary to get a letter from a licensed physician that would attest to those same things, that the individual has a disability, that it does serve as a limitation, that the likely onset of that disability occurred before age 26, and that it's expected to last a year or longer. Now, with CalABLE, we don't ask that you turn in that letter. We ask that you only keep it in case you're one day asked to deliver that, and whether that's to the IRS or your state tax organization, or even to those benefit providers when they're doing a recertification. The next thing I wanted to do is give you an idea of what are the similarities across ABLE programs. And so as we do a deeper dive on California's program, I thought it might be worthwhile to just take a quick look and see what are the things that are the same for all ABLE programs across the board. And in the next slide, I'll offer some of the differences. But first and foremost, the things that will be the same no matter which ABLE program you belong to, the eligibility requirements. Because this is based on the Federal ABLE Act, and that all states must adhere to in order to be a qualified ABLE program, the eligibility from program to program is going to be exactly the same. You're going to have that disability, and the onset of that disability will have needed to occur before age 26. Another thing that may be similar for most programs is that they are either national programs or state-based programs. For national programs like California and many others, it means that you don't have to be a resident of that state in order to participate in that state's program. Now, there are some programs that are state-based where you must be a resident of that state, and typically they'll let you know right when you get to that state that you must be a resident in order to participate. The other place that you can always go to see which programs are national programs would be to the ABLE NRC's website, and we recommend that as a great source to do those comparisons. With all ABLE programs, you'll have the ability to save or invest, meaning that you can put your money in secure options that are guaranteed not to lose principal, or you can elect to choose through investments that will allow you to grow your savings over time. All the programs offer similar benefits protection in that the money that you put into your ABLE account will not necessarily count against you for those resource limits of programs like SSI or Medicaid, at least provided the up to $100,000 that you put into your ABLE account. Each program will have the same as far as contribution limits. Most ABLE contributors will only be able to provide up to $15,000 per year in contributions to their ABLE account. Now, there are some circumstances where individuals can contribute more, and those typically are when the individual is working, contributing a portion of their own income, and not actively participating in an employer-sponsored retirement program. The tax advantage status that you receive with an ABLE program will be the same across all programs, except for in those cases where some states have added some additional tax benefits for individual contributors to an ABLE account. But for the most part, all ABLE programs, the withdrawals are tax exempt, provided that they are for qualified disability expenses. And those qualified disability expenses will be the same across all ABLE programs as well. So will the fact that you can roll over your account from one state to another, the portability of these ABLE accounts. That is something that should be the same wherever you go. And then finally, again, like I said, the opportunity to save or invest, even though there may be different vehicles to do that within, you'll have those opportunities across all ABLE programs. Next slide. So if we talk quickly about some of the differences, and the main thing that I can look at are there are some features to programs that may be different. Some programs offer a debit card, others offer a prepaid card. There are differences in the delay from when you actually deposit money to when you can actually access or withdraw that money. Customer service hours may be different among the programs, or even the way that you address those programs. Some of the rules of the program, the rules of participation, may vary, and we'll talk in detail about what CalABLE's differences may be. But the one thing that may garner most attention is the program fees. Yes, the fees related to these programs will vary from program to program. Some may be less expensive than others, and some may offer some greater consumer protections. The investment options, like I said, there are different vehicles. All of our investment options are managed by TIA-CREF. And programs with different program administrators may offer different investment portfolios, and so being familiar and aware of what those differences are could be of great benefit to you. And then the final thing that could be a significant difference among these programs are the state laws that have been passed to enhance the federal ABLE Act, and those will vary from state to state, and moreover, those benefits may be only available if you are a resident of the state and you're participating in that state's program. And I can talk to you in a little bit about California's enhancements that we've made. If you go to the next slide, I can talk a little bit about CalABLE. And CalABLE is California's qualified ABLE program. As Miranda mentioned, we launched in December of 2018, and the California ABLE Act generally mirrors the federal act. So all of those things that I said that are similar across the ABLE programs are very relevant for California's program. We are an online-based savings and investment program for people with disabilities. In fact, the primary way that you interact with your account is online. You enroll online. You schedule deposits and withdrawals online. We do have some additional resources if you need questions answered. We have consumer hotlines that you can call or email whenever you want to. And as I mentioned, the program is administered through the California State Treasurer's Office. Now, one of the things that I'd like to mention is that since December of 2018, when we first launched, we've actually opened more than 3,500 CalABLE accounts with just under $17.5 million in assets under management. And as Miranda mentioned, we are one of the fastest growing ABLE programs and feel like we are just scratching the surface for California residents who'd like to join. And as I mentioned, we're a national program, so no matter where you live in the United States, CalABLE is available if you're interested. Next slide. I'm going to talk about the basics of the program. We offer very low fees, and later on in the presentation, I'm going to walk you through exactly what those fees are, including showing you a scenario, depending on the options that you choose, exactly how much it would cost you to run or manage your CalABLE account for a full year. Online enrollment is easy. It's also free. The only thing that you need to get a program started is that $25 minimum contribution. Contributions or deposits and withdrawals can be made either through electronic fund transfers or through the good old-fashioned paper checks sent through U.S. Postal Service. We do offer a prepaid debit card, and you can transfer money to that card and then use that card everywhere that Visa debit cards are accepted. Next slide. Now, I mentioned that CalABLE is guided by the CalABLE Act board. I report to that board and also serve at the pleasure of State Treasurer Freona Ma. The meetings for the CalABLE board, where we discuss the operations and actually go over the program performance, are held on a quarterly basis, and they are open to the public. So you can attend those either in person here in Sacramento or live wherever you happen to be over the phone. Next slide. The main way to interact with CalABLE is through our website. So if you've heard enough and are already ready to open your CalABLE account, all you have to do is go to calable.ca.gov, and it'll walk you right through what you need to get started. There are only a few things that are needed to enroll. If you're enrolling either as the beneficiary or as someone who's signing up as the authorized legal representative, there are just a few elements of documentation that we need. We need your Social Security number or the taxpayer ID number for both the beneficiary, and if you're signing up as an authorized legal representative, we need that for you as well. We also need that $25 initial deposit. And if you're planning on linking a bank account to your CalABLE account to be able to make those fund transfers between the two, we need the routing number and the account number for that bank account that you plan to link. Next slide. As a quick walkthrough through the application, you'll go through the personal information segment, and that's where you'll create your unique user ID and set up your own password. We ask that you provide the information for the beneficiary and the authorized legal representative. You'll select the delivery options of how you'd like to receive your statements and other information. You can then choose your investment options and how you'd like your money allocated through those investment options. You'll be able to link your bank account to make the flow of money to and from your ABLE account a little more convenient. You can request that prepaid card to add an additional layer of convenience. And then you'll be able to make any necessary certifications, like the self-certification that I mentioned previously, if you have not been previously qualified or certified for benefits through programs like SSI or SSDI. Now, I mentioned that getting money into your ABLE account can happen in a couple of ways. Specifically here at CalABLE, the thing that you would do is log into your CalABLE account at calable.ca.gov. Your deposits or contributions can be made at any time, either by sending in a check through the U.S. Postal Service or by requesting an ACH transfer to your linked bank account. Now, we ask that you allow 10 business days for contributions made by check or ACH transfer to actually be visible and accessible through your CalABLE account. And then moving over to the next slide, receiving money from your CalABLE account happens in a very similar way. You would log in to calable.ca.gov, and you can either ask for a check to be sent to you as the beneficiary, or to the authorized legal representative, or even to a third-party payee. Now, there is an additional fee for checks there that are cut to the beneficiary or whomever they designate. That's a $5 per check fee. But funds can also be loaded directly from the CalABLE account onto the optional prepaid card, which can be used everywhere that Visa cards are accepted, and there is no fee for this. Or CalABLE, our distributions can be sent directly to a linked account that you set up with your account to any bank, and there's no fee associated with those. We also ask that you allow 10 business days for those from the time that you make the distribution to when you actually have that cash distribution in hand. And the one thing that's important that you should know is that CalABLE does not check, and we do not track whether those distributions are a qualified disability expense. We feel those are the responsibility of the beneficiary or their authorized legal representative. And so at the same time, we recommend that you keep records, including receipts and any notes that you need to do to ensure that if you are ever asked, whether it's by the Internal Revenue Service or by your benefits providers, whether you're asked whether those were qualified disability expenses or not, you'll have those records in hand to assist you in moving through that process. Now, I've mentioned a couple of times, the next slide, the CalABLE Visa prepaid card. You can load and reload to your card directly from the CalABLE web portal. You can use the card everywhere that Visa debit cards are accepted, and that's whether online or in store. And I must note that you cannot get cash from your Visa prepaid card from an ATM machine. And there are low fees, or actually the CalABLE Visa prepaid card is issued by MetaBank, member of FDIC, pursuant to a license from Visa USA. But it does add a new layer of convenience for accessing the funds that are in your CalABLE account. Now, I mentioned that CalABLE is a savings and investment mechanism. It's managed by TIAA-CREF. They're one of the largest fund managers and financial investment firms. They manage over $1 trillion in assets, and we have a number of portfolios where your money can be deposited. We have an FDIC-insured portfolio where you're guaranteed not to lose principal, or we also have 3 target risk investment options. And the fees for these options vary depending on what options you choose. And the funds may be transferred between the portfolios 2 times a year. And for a little bit more detail on those investment portfolios, I'm going to turn things over to Glenn.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. So I think to start off, we're going to talk about the core beliefs that guide the investment menu. And I think it's really apropos that we're actually starting to talk about diversification to start, just because that's something you might see in the headlines nowadays. There has been a lot of volatility in the markets, in the risk markets particularly. And diversification is a key pillar that we believe in when investing for the long term. Investment options should contain multiple components that are highly diversified and capture all important asset classes. And this follows trends in college savings plans, other 529 accounts, as well as defined contribution plans. We're no longer in a time where we're just using one stock fund and one bond fund, but investment options are now much more diversified and incorporate a number of asset and sub-asset classes to help mitigate some of the volatility over the long run. Simplicity is another pillar. Investment options should not be overwhelming to participants. They should be easily identifiable, and this is pretty straightforward. An option name should reflect the specific objective of that option or its long-term goal. It should not be confusing when individuals are choosing between them. And this speaks to the standardized naming conventions that we selected for each of the investment options, and I'll get to that in just a moment. Third is choice. Investment options should span the risk spectrum, and we fully recognize that everyone may have a different investment goal for this specific account. For some people, they may just want a bank account to use for transactional purposes. For others, they might want that long-term growth potential, and they're comfortable with some of the volatility that's possible in their portfolio. So we have a spectrum of different investment options that span all of those investment goals and to meet those goals. And then finally, cost. I think we've mentioned a few different times. All things equal, investment options that are cheaper are more attractive. And there's an old saying is that the one thing you can be sure of in investing is fees. Over time, more expensive options will eat into returns. So we try to minimize that. To the extent possible. So if we go to the next slide, we can talk about those 4 investment choices that all investors have to choose from when they're opening a CalABLE account. First, we have the FDIC insured portfolio. This seeks a very stable, conservative return, and it is a bank account. It is exactly like a bank account that you can go down the street and open one. The difference is that this is actually in the ABLE program, so you get the ABLE benefit while not being invested in the capital markets. This is that FDIC insured portfolio that has a principal and some interest as well. The next 3 are what we call the target risk investment options: the conservative portfolio, the moderate portfolio, and the aggressive growth portfolio. The conservative portfolio has smaller allocations to stocks, as well as a funding agreement from TIAA-CREF Life Insurance Company, which is our cash-like vehicle in that investment option. The conservative portfolio targets about 20% of its total allocation to the global equity markets. In contrast, the moderate portfolio allocates approximately 50% of its total allocation to the global equity markets. So it's a little bit more aggressive than the conservative. It has a mixture of both stock and bond funds. The aggressive growth portfolio seeks a more aggressive more aggressive growth and long-term growth potential by allocating about 80% of its total allocation to the global equity markets. One note about transfers between options, I think we had mentioned it just a moment ago. You may transfer funds in your account between investment options only twice per calendar year, and that is a limit of the Internal Revenue Code. However, you may change the investment options to which future contributions will be allocated at any time. On the next slide, you see a graphical representation of what I just spoke about. The FDIC insured portfolio is its own asset class. If you invest in that investment option, you are basically investing in a bank account. The conservative portfolio, the moderate portfolio, and the aggressive growth portfolio are those three target risk options, and they contain a mixture of stocks, bonds, as well as a guaranteed crediting rate from the funding agreement in the conservative portfolio and the moderate portfolio. So if we move to the next slide, I'll speak a little bit more in detail on those four different investment buckets, I'll call them. The interest-bearing account obviously is for the FDIC-insured investment option. That is sponsored by TIAA Bank. That is a savings account that includes interest payments, and it's also FDIC-insured up to FDIC permitted limits. That's pretty straightforward. For the other three, for stocks, to build a diversified selection of mutual funds, we have three funds from TIAA, namely the TIAA CREF Equity Index Fund, the TIAA CREF International Equity Index Fund, as well as the TIAA CREF Emerging Markets Equity Index Fund. Collectively, those three form the global equity base from which three of the four investment options can be built with. I'll also mention that these three funds are index funds, and as index funds, they track as closely as possible their respective market segment. They are not overweighted in one part of the market versus another. They contain a balanced mixture of both value and growth investment styles. They contain various sectors. They are balanced with regard to exposure to cyclical, defensive, as well as growth areas of the market. So they are a holistic way to invest in the global stock market. For bonds, we have a diversified mix of fixed income funds from TIAA. They cover what's known as the Bloomberg Barclays Aggregate US Aggregate Index, which means it includes Treasury issues, so government issue bonds, highly rated corporate securities, securitized assets, and we also have an allocation to the TIAA CREF Inflation-Linked Bond Fund, which is a Treasury Inflation Protected Securities portfolio, or also known as TIPS. We hold that inflation is one of the biggest risks to long-term growth, so we're proud that that portfolio is included as part of the bond allocation. For the funding agreement, like I said, this is a cash-like investment. This is an insurance agreement with TIAA CREF Life Insurance that guarantees a minimum crediting rate of return between 1% and 3%, and that's reset annually. TFI, which is Tuition Financing, Inc., as well as the parent company, TIAA, and TIAA CREF Life Insurance Company, are one of the only three insurance groups in the U.S. to currently hold the highest possible ratings from three of the four leading insurance rating agencies, and those are AM Best, Fitch Ratings, Moody's, and S&P. And that really validates the financial strength and the claims paying ability of TIAA, which is important for a product like. I'll also just take a moment to talk about TFI, Tuition Financing, Inc., as the program manager for CalABLE, because this is something that sets CalABLE apart from other ABLE programs. We have a fairly unique structure. We view the 529 industry as a unique business. So what that means is I don't divide my time between the 529 work and defined contribution, for example, or pensions or endowments. I actually do asset allocation work specifically for 529s. What that means is that 529 plans that we have the benefit, what that means is that 529 plans that we manage have the benefit of having dedicated professionals, myself included, my team included, that are acutely aware of the 529 industry. So CalABLE has the benefit of having a long-standing program manager, which has been in the 529 market for over 20 years, and we are aware of the 529 world, possibly more so than other programs. So if we can go to the next slide, I'll cover really quickly just what it looks like when you actually try to enroll in an account. This is what the online enrollment page looks like. The prompt is, how would you like the money in your CalABLE account to be invested? And it gives you a few other tips. Your choices must total 100% before you move on to the next page, because it needs to account for every penny that you're going to be allocating in your CalABLE account. It's a pretty straightforward process. It's pretty much industry standard. There's one note there that says, read the program disclosure statement. And that really leads into the next slide, if you can move to the next slide, which is more of a disclosure statement, but I'll end here because I think it's a really important note. Investing comes with risk, right? Your account value can go down for a number of different reasons. Right now, it's because there is a global epidemic currently that might be affecting global supply chains and may have economic impacts on a variety of different businesses. So that's something to keep into account when you are investing, because this is an investment account. Apart from the FDIC insured option, you are investing in risk assets. So you need to be aware of that. The program disclosure statement contains a list of risks that should be reviewed before investing. I'm not going to go through each one of them right now, but a few of them that you may or may not be aware of is currency risk. If you're investing in an aggressive investment option, you are subject to international equity markets, which come with currency risk. There's credit risk. Even though the fixed income issues that are in this program are of very high quality, they still have credit risk. So that's something you need to be aware of in terms of how interest rates move, so on and so forth. So that's all really important information to know before you actually open an account and establish your CalABLE account. So with that, I will turn it back over to Dante to discuss a little bit more about some of the details of the CalABLE program. Dante?
Thank you so much, Glenn, and you've done an excellent job in talking about those investment opportunities that exist with CalABLE. Now I want to walk you through a little bit more of the detailed information about the program, specifically related to fees. And so this current slide shows you that that there are a number of fees, and some of those fees are time-based fees, and others are based on a percentage of your average daily balance, and then others are occasional fees. And I want to be able to walk you through all of them so you can fully understand what the cost of operating a CalABLE account will be. And so the first that I want to point out is that each account is assessed an annual account maintenance fee. That fee for all accounts is $37 per year. Now, it's taken out in monthly installments, so that's just a little bit over $3 per month. The next couple of fees that I'll talk about are those fees that are based on a percentage of your average daily balance. The first is an underlying investment fee, and it is dependent upon which choices that you make. For some of the choices, we have waived any fees related to it, so it is 0% of your daily average daily allowance, and then it can go up to 0.09% of your average daily balance, depending on your investment choice. We also have a state administrative fee, and that can be just a little bit less than 0.5% of your average daily balance. and those, depending on your choices, there is potential for that fee to be waived as well. There is a paper statement mail delivery fee. It's $10 annually if you choose to receive your CalABLE statements via the U.S. Postal Service. If you want to receive your statements via email, that $10 per year fee is waived completely. There's also an insufficient funds fee, and that is $20 per occurrence for that fee. And then I already mentioned a little bit earlier that there is a check issuance fee if you are requesting a distribution from your ABLE account and want to receive a check through the U.S. Postal Service, and that includes a check to the beneficiary or to the authorized legal representative or to any payee. There's a $5 per check fee for that. But again, electronic fund transfers as well as transfers from your ABLE account to the CalABLE debit card, there are no charges associated with those kinds of distributions. Once again, enrollment in CalABLE is free, and the minimum deposit is just $25. Now, when we take a look at the next slide, this is a real-world example of if you are operating a CalABLE account with $3,000 in assumed assets. And so what you'll see here is across the board, if no matter how you allocate your money, whether you put it into the FDIC insured portfolio or any of the target risk portfolios, you will be charged a $37 annual account maintenance fee. And that is just one fee, so it doesn't matter if you divide some of your money into the various investment portfolios, you're still only going to be charged one $37 annual account maintenance fee. Now, it gets a little bit different when you make your choices among the investment options. If you elect to only place your money in the FDIC insured portfolio, there is no underlying investment fee. We also waive the state administrative fee. So if you are operating your CalABLE account and putting 100% of your assets into the FDIC insured portfolio, the only thing that you will be charged for a year to operate that account is the $37 annual account maintenance fee. Now, keep in mind that if you do choose to receive your statements by the mail, you'll also be charged the $10 paper mail statement delivery fee. If you choose from any of the portfolios, you'll pay anywhere from $2.40 to $3 in the underlying investment fee. And again, it's important to note that you wouldn't be charged if you had $3,000 and you divided it equally among the different investment portfolios. You wouldn't be charged this amount for each portfolio. It really is only the portion of your $3,000 account balance times the underlying investment rate. So it's not a compounded fee. It'll only be the percentage based on what you have in each of those portfolios. And then if you're investing in any of the options, you will also incur the state administrative fee, and those fees go to pay for things like the development of materials, the promotion of the program, and even like the the salaries of CalABLE staff and any expenses related to that staff. And so for $3,000 balanced account, the fees for that would be roughly $13.20 per year. So at the minimum, a CalABLE account will cost you about $37 per year. At the maximum, it could cost you up to $53.20. And so if you do a comparison of CalABLE across the other ABLE programs, you'll see that CalABLE is not the most expensive. We're also not the least expensive. Our fees fall somewhere within the middle of the pack, but we do feel like we offer exceptional value, especially when you consider that at $53 a year, you can invest in some of CalABLE's investment portfolios in a way that would be cheaper than managing just a simple savings or checking account through most commercial bankers. The other thing that is important to note is that the additional $10 fee if you elect to have paper statements. Now, in addition, at the beginning, I mentioned that there are ways that the states have made enhancements or improvements upon the Federal ABLE Act, and California has done that as well. And in 2017, we actually passed 2 laws that should make a CalABLE account very attractive, especially for California residents. We passed a law that said that Medi-Cal, California's version of Medicaid, will not file a claim directly on ABLE accounts. You may be aware that Medicaid has the ability to tap into ABLE accounts upon the death of the beneficiary for any of the care that the Medicaid program has spent on the individual's health care, either over the course of their lifetime or since the ABLE account was opened. Well, California's law says that Medi-Cal will not seek, they will not ask to recover from the ABLE account of a California resident with a CalABLE account. We also passed a law that says that ABLE accounts are exempt from the enforcement of money judgments. So if an individual is ever sued or has an extensive debt from a creditor, their ABLE accounts cannot be tapped involuntarily in order to satisfy those debts, which we see as an incredibly valuable protection, consumer protection for California residents with a CalABLE account. So the next slide, please. The next thing that I'll talk about is what happens when an account owner passes away. I mentioned that Medi-Cal will not seek to directly recover from a CalABLE account upon the death of a beneficiary. But that doesn't mean that money in a CalABLE account is completely excluded from this opportunity for Medicaid recovery. And so what happens when an account owner passes away? The first thing that happens is that any outstanding qualified disability expenses can be paid using funds from an ABLE account. Now, typically when I give this presentation and I go over the basics of qualified disability expenses, I include that full range of categories that would be considered as qualified disability expenses. And that includes those things that impact the health, quality of life, or independence of the beneficiary. And there are broader categories that look at things like legal expenses, educational expenses, assistive technology. But one of the things that I am sure to note is that the expenses associated with the death and burial of a beneficiary would also be included as a qualified disability expense. So in those circumstances where an authorized legal representative has been set up for the account, that representative can make those payments for any outstanding qualified disability expenses even after the death of the beneficiary. So after those expenses have been taken care of, the account is then transferred into the deceased individual's estate. Now, you may know that that would then give Medicaid or Medi-Cal a second opportunity to attempt to recover from the deceased beneficiary's estate. So our Medi-Cal has taken a second step to say, here are the exact circumstances in which we would seek to do that secondary recovery from an individual's estate. And so all of these next bullets must apply in order for Medi-Cal to attempt that recovery. Now, the deceased individual must be age 55 or older. They also must be a user of comprehensive Medicaid services, things like in-home support, skilled nursing services, prescription drugs, all those things that are above and beyond the standard Medi-Cal services. The individual is not survived by a spouse, a child under the age of 18, or a child with a disability of any age. So again, unless all four of those bulleted items apply, then the estate would not be subjected to Medicaid recovery. Now, the thing that I want to turn your attention over to, and Katie is on the line to talk a little bit about AchieveABLE Corner, and this is a special collaboration between the National Disability Institute and CalABLE, and it allows us to provide some additional resources for folks. And we understand that enrollees in CalABLE accounts many times or under many circumstances may be saving and investing for the first time in their. After all, the rules and regulations around some of the disability programs say that you're only allowed to have a very nominal amount in savings, and so therefore it would exclude the capability of investing. But now that the ABLE Act does allow for such things, we want to make sure that in addition to providing a product for individuals to be able to save and invest, we also want to make sure that there are resources so you can understand what are the basics of savings and investing, and how can you make the most of your ABLE account. So with that said, I'll turn things over to Katie now to give us a little bit more insight into the AchieveABLE Corner.
Thank you so much, Dante. And you're right, there's so much wonderful information out there about ABLE and financial education and the resources that we have, but how do we find it? So it's really my pleasure to talk to you today about this really exciting opportunity that NDI was presented with in 2019 to collaborate with Dante and his team at CalABLE. With the generous support of our funder, the Wells Fargo Foundation, NDI was able to launch a pilot project to really test the benefits of providing just-in-time financial resources to potential and current ABLE account holders. We really hoped that we could determine if this method of presenting real-time financial education would in fact assist individuals to better understand and manage their ABLE accounts. We also hoped that our outcomes would help us to determine if these types of resources would be effective for ABLE users across the country. So the objectives of the AchieveABLE Corner are to provide financial information, resources, and answers to common questions that many individuals encounter when either they're thinking about opening an ABLE account or if they already have an account. Questions that might arise on how to manage their account most effectively. ABLE accounts, as we've talked about today, are such an incredible resource for people with disabilities and their families. And we want to ensure they have access to the tools and resources that help them best understand and manage their accounts, which will essentially lead them to a more financially secure future. In the AchieveABLE Corner, we work to dispel the myths and provide information that helps to break down barriers that many individuals and their families encounter while opening or managing their accounts. We worked really closely with our ABLE NRC experts and our National Technical Assistance staff to determine what were the most frequently asked questions from both individuals in California and really across the country. By providing answers to these questions, providing various financial tools and resources, we truly helped to increase the enrollment and the usage of CalABLE accounts. The information we provide in the AchieveABLE Corner was developed by our team of subject matter experts on ABLE, financial education, and disability, so that we could really help to increase the knowledge and skills of potential and current CalABLE account holders. By providing these tools, we hope to increase individuals' knowledge and skills around money management, setting financial goals, creating regular saving habits, so that these individuals can open and again effectively manage their accounts. We've also developed and are utilizing the Corner to help us test and measure individuals' perceptions of their knowledge gained and changes in their financial capability. We do this through a self-reported survey that appears on the AchieveABLE Corner. Additionally, we measure the number of times resources are accessed and utilized to help us determine what resources are the most helpful for users as we build and adjust the site so that we meet the need of the users. We collect and we utilize all this information and feedback to adjust and add identified additional information as we see needed on the site. We work closely with the CalABLE team to see what other information needs to be updated and edited. And as such, the Corner continues to remain a live site, adapting and growing as we collect data and interact with our users. Next slide, please. So how do you find the AchieveABLE Corner? Okay, well, the AchieveABLE Corner are web pages that do live on the NDI website. However, they can be accessed through banner linkages on CalABLE's site. Each of these banner linkages have customized questions based on the content of the web page the user is currently viewing within the CalABLE website. So the questions of each banner were developed to help spur the user's interest in learning more about strategies and resources relevant to where they are in their journey, so that they can either learn more about opening a CalABLE account and or better manage their accounts. There are 5 locations throughout the CalABLE website on various pages. The team worked together so we could identify the different areas of CalABLE's website where, based on our previous and multiple interactions with ABLE users across the country, we determined users might have questions. So the users can then click on the Learn More button, and they'll be taken to the section of the AchieveABLE Corner site that correlates to the questions addressed in the banner they're accessing. Next slide. So the home page of the AchieveABLE Corner asks individuals where they are in the CalABLE account process, directing users to the right questions, answers, and resources wherever they might be in their process. So as you can see, it says here, where are you in the account, CalABLE account process? So individuals are then asked to choose. I am either thinking about opening a CalABLE account, ready to open a CalABLE account, or currently using my CalABLE account. Users can then choose the category that best fits their current train of thought and help them quickly and efficiently locate answers to the questions that are at the top of their minds. Each question provides answers crafted by national subject matter experts. It lets them take action steps for users to review and determine what their best next steps might be for them. And then it provides additional resources to help them in their process. During this process, we hope individuals will explore additional tools and resources available to better use and manage their ABLE account. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned previously, the questions were developed based on interactions and questions ABLE users have asked NDI through either the ABLE National Resource Center or and of CalABLE, as well as through our many years of experience in the field providing technical assistance. All the questions and answers on the AchieveABLE Corner site are real questions directly asked by account owners. They're all meant to be interactive with individuals, real facts that people need to know about their ABLE accounts. They are answers crafted by subject matter experts. They are always take action steps that are clearly laid out for each question so the user can decide and create their own action plan. And finally, there's multiple links to activities and resources for individuals to explore and navigate, such as taking a pledge with the America Saves campaign, completing a budget worksheet, watching videos, and several other interactive resources and tools. Next slide, please. So at the bottom of each page, we really wanted to motivate individuals to be able to save. So we did that by making sure that there were two consistencies throughout the website pages. There are did you know facts that are provided to help motivate individuals to take action towards saving for their future and either opening or better managing their CalABLE account. And then there's an option to return to CalABLE at their enrollment page so individuals can automatically go back and they can begin or complete the process of opening their CalABLE account. If you have any additional questions after today's webinar regarding the AchieveABLE Corner, you're more than welcome to contact me directly and I'll provide my contact information in the chat box. And with that, I will, as we do on every page of our AchieveABLE Corner page, return it to you at CalABLE, Dante.
Thank you so much, Katie. An excellent resource for those who have those kinds of questions, and we want to continue to build and enhance upon what we've started with the AchieveABLE Corner. I'm going to wrap things up here. The first thing that I wanted to say, I pointed out that we do have a customer engagement center, and it is open 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Monday through Friday. And customer service is something that we truly do pride ourselves on at CalABLE, both when you call the engagement center or when you interact with us as a staff. We really want to go that extra effort and make sure that we are meeting all of your needs. So please do not hesitate to reach out to us. And just like Katie just extended, I am happy to share my contact information for anyone who wants to interact with me directly. There is also an email address that you can send information to, and that's calable.support@calable.ca.gov. Next slide. Here's something where you can potentially be of help to all ABLE recipients. The federal government, there are two bills right now in both the House of Representatives and in the Senate that are looking to increase the age of onset for ABLE eligibility from 26 to 46. If that happens, an additional, it's estimated that an additional 6 million people nationwide will be able to benefit from the ABLE program. If you are so inclined, you can reach out to your representatives to make sure that they are aware and are supportive of these bills and to ensure that they pass. The other thing, next slide please, that we're looking at here in California is to further enhance ABLE. We have pursued in previous years a tax deduction or tax credit for third-party contributors to an ABLE account. As an extra incentive, we're hoping to get something passed that would say that you would be able to do, you would be able to make it tax deductible when you contribute to an individual beneficiary's ABLE account. And so please stay tuned for that information. And then the last bit of info that I wanted to share with you is that at CalABLE we have our own webinar series. A few weeks ago we did the first in that series, which was a CalABLE 101, where we went through all of the details about the ABLE Act and the specifics about CalABLE. We will soon have that archived and available on our website, but please visit us. We have another one coming up in June, and this will add some additional specificity to what we've already done. And please feel free to contact us for in-person educational opportunities, and we go up and down the state to do that. And then if you want to connect with us on any of your favorite social media networks, those are listed here, or you can join our email distribution list. And then our final slide is once again pointing to the fine print that Glenn mentioned. This is an investment opportunity, and as with all investment opportunities, there is a potential for risk. So please review our disclosure statement if you would like to explore that in more depth. And since we are right at time, I think I'll turn it over to Miranda to talk about how we will respond to any questions that you may have. Miranda?
Great. Thank you so much, Dante. And thank you to you and Glenn and Katie for sharing this information in our Spotlight on CalABLE. We're going to go ahead and go to the next slide. I do want to mention thank you to Marlene and Lori, who on the side have answered 50 questions that came in from the chat and the Q&A, and there were great questions. It looks like there were only about 8 that we weren't able to answer that were specific to CalABLE, and I think Katie Metz in her presentation on the AchieveABLE Corner, a lot of those questions either will be answered or could be answered there. But just one of those questions, Dante, was asking about if there's anyone with disabilities on the CalABLE board.
That is an excellent question, and as a matter of fact, it's a 7-member board, and it is encompassed by members from the state's financial apparatus, as well as our disability services organization. So the Department of Rehabilitation, the director of that department and board member is a person with a disability, as well as the State Council for Independent Living. Our representative is an individual with a disability, and with our State Council for Developmental Disabilities, that individual is a person with a disability. And I myself, as executive director of the program, have had a lifelong disability as well, and I feel like that it colors every decision that we make about the program. So excellent question, and glad to say that we are inclusive.
Okay, great. Thank you, Dante. The other 7 questions are important as well. We'll submit those to you and Katie and Glenn and get the answers posted with the archive, although I'd also encourage folks to ask those questions, those 7 of you who didn't get your answers, in the AchieveABLE Corner as well. It's a great resource. And here on this slide, you can see some more ABLE NRC resources. We reference again that roadmap to enrollment, our comparison tools. We have case summary series. We have federal guidance on ABLE account and tax time savings information as we're going into our time to file our taxes. We also have ABLE toolkits and ABLE frequently asked questions. Our employer toolkit was just posted this January to be shared with employers. Our frequently asked questions, we just updated that, and that's a very comprehensive resource that's available on our website, and that's new as of last month. So we're constantly building out new tools. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide, and I'll just share real quick. We hope you'll help us to spread the word and share information about ABLE accounts with your family, your friends, your community that you're involved with, and add the topic of ABLE within your conversations to inform people of this new opportunity for people to help lift them out of poverty and enhance their life and be able to save regularly and invest even for current and future needs. So let's go ahead and go to the final slides. In addition to joining CalABLE's newsletter, we also have our AchieveABLE newsletter. You can also connect with us on social media via Facebook and Twitter, and we encourage you to continue to stay posted and join us on future webinars. And check out our archives as well. Check out those Spotlight archives. And finally, our final slide, Thank you to our ABLE National Resource Center sponsors, our gold sponsor Prudential, as well as all of our others. We would not be here without them and greatly appreciate their support. And we appreciate all of you being here with us today. And thank you again to our presenters and also to the team providing support on today's call. If you could take just 1 minute and respond to the few post-training survey questions, that really helps to inform us around how useful today's webinar was to you and what you might like to see in the future as well. And with that, thank you everyone. We hope you have a great rest of your day.